So another Chiefs receiver has found himself in the news, which isn't actually for anything he did directly. And in this video, we've got to talk about Xavier Worthy's car getting stolen in Kansas City, but not before we take a very in-depth look at the Chiefs' schedule now that we know the order and pull out some interesting tidbits around it. But first, how about those? All right, first up, now that the Chiefs' schedule is officially out and in order, as is every other NFL team's at this point, it's time to take a deeper look at this week by week. But in case you just want to see every game the Chiefs play right from the jump with no real commentary, here's the entire schedule for KC in order, starting with the preseason. Things start off Saturday, August 10th at Jacksonville, then the following Saturday, August 17th at Arrowhead against the Lions, with the final preseason game being Thursday, August 22nd at home against the Bears before a 2-week break hits. Then the season starts with the opener featuring the Chiefs against the Ravens on September 5th, which is a Thursday evening. It's not Thursday Night Football on Amazon, but Amazon gets a Chiefs game later on in the season. Next is another home game against the Bengals on September 15th, followed by 2 road games. Week 3 is on Sunday Night Football against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons on September 22nd, followed by a midday matchup on September 29th against the Chargers. The Chiefs are back home to take on the Saints for their first of 2 Monday Night Football appearances October 7th before their bye week hits pretty early on Week 6. Week 7 is on the road to face off against the 49ers in a Super Bowl rematch October 20th, then staying on the road Week 8 to battle the Raiders in Vegas October 27th. Week 9 is once again on Monday Night Football and once again at Arrowhead, but against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs on November 4th. Then KC stays at home Week 10 against Bo Nix and the Broncos November 10th for the first noon game of the season. KC then travels to Buffalo Week 11 for a midday game on November 17th, and then we'll fly out to Carolina November 24th to face the Panthers in Week 12. Week 13 is actually a Black Friday game against the Raiders at Arrowhead. So Friday, Black Friday, 2 p.m. Central, I believe, and it's going to be on Amazon. And I'm not going to lie, I'm just glad this isn't a Christmas game because I don't care to have what happened last season be my Christmas experience ever again. Anyway, for Week 14, the Chiefs face off against the Chargers to make that the second AFC West game in a row at home, but this time it's on Sunday Night Football, December 8th. Week 15 is against the Browns in Cleveland on December 15th at noon, and this starts the first game the Chiefs will actually be playing in just 10 days, and no, that is not a typo. Week 16 takes place just 6 days later on December 21st at noon against the Texans in what should be an absolute banger at Arrowhead. Then, Week 17 is sadly once again on Christmas, but this time on the road against the Steelers at noon. Oh, and both of these Christmas matchups, Chiefs and Steelers at noon, as well as the Ravens and Texans at 3:30, are both going to be exclusively streamed on Netflix. So yeah, you either need a subscription to Netflix or live locally in the cities of one of these teams in order to watch these games. Love it or hate it, it's just the beginning. You've got Peacock if you want to watch some games this year, Amazon already. You need something like YouTube TV to watch local games as it is, or something reliable, and then NFL Sunday Ticket if you want to watch a game out of network. Basically, it's not slowing down, and I assume more networks are going to be bidding on some of these games to get exclusive access to them, and the NFL is not going to say no because they are making a piss ton of money. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments, but Week 18 is an away game to end the season against the Denver Donkeys, though the exact day and time is still to be determined, which is how they handle all Week 18 games until the season starts to unfold. And that is the schedule for the Chiefs' 2024 NFL season. But from here, I want to take a look at some of the most interesting tidbits and give some detailed thoughts about some of these games because they're pretty interesting. But before I do, I am stoked to announce that Underdog Fantasy is back for yet another NFL season with the channel, which is awesome because this is not only the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports, but they've got a lot going on right now with the NBA playoffs in full swing. You've also got the MLB, NHL, PGA, and more, though I know most of you are here for the football content, which is why I'm happy to announce Underdog has been rolling out their NFL tournaments featuring their flagship contest, Best Ball Mania 5. This is a no-stress, season-long draft with no waivers, trades, or lineups, setting for your shot at $15 million in total prizes and a first-place prize of $1.5 million. They've got other tournaments as well, like the Big Dog, the Puppy, and the Chihuahua, which gives out various prizes depending on which tournament you enter. These are all super easy to play and take less than 10 minutes to complete for the 30-second rounds, or you can take your time with an 8-hour per pick option to make sure you have the capacity to really think on your selections. So make sure to check these out ASAP by signing up using code HBTC to claim your special pick plus a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. I'll also be doing some pick'ems live with you guys on stream soon, as well as announcing some private HBTC drafts just like last year, so stay tuned for that as well. All right, now that we know the details of the schedule, out of 17 games, only 10 are played on a Sunday for KC, which is pretty interesting. That is until they figure week 18 out. Could be 11, but to be determined. They also play 5 games at noon, which is way more noon games than last year. It was 1 noon game last year initially, and then that Patriots game that was scheduled for Monday Night Football was flexed out of Monday Night Football because who wants to watch the Patriots these days? And they played that at noon. So 2 noon games last year, but only 1 initially slated on the schedule, I believe. 5 this year, though to be fair, one of these noon games are on Christmas, so I feel like it's really 4. Christmas doesn't count. Another thing to consider when looking at the schedule is the Rashee Rice suspension that is most likely incoming in the first half of the season if his court cases get figured out and finished up before the start of the season. If that happens, the NFL is going to suspend this man, and he's most likely going to miss, 6-ish games, some of the toughest games of the year against teams like the Ravens, Bengals, and 49ers. Though obviously we don't know how many games exactly he's going to get suspended. Something else to note is that another player on the other side of the ball is going to be missing for the first half of the season or a little bit more, and that is defensive end Charles Omenihu, who's going to be out rehabbing that surgically repaired ACL. So you're potentially going to have no Rashee Rice or Charles Omenihu for at least the first half of the season this year. Then Kansas City has the second most primetime games of any other team, tied with several others in second. They've got 5 total. The NFL labels a game as primetime if it is being played at night. So they've got 5 night games as well as several Chiefs-only slots this year, which is what I'm unofficially coining games the Chiefs play in that involves no other games being played at that time. So it's either watch the Chiefs or nobody at all. Those games, for example, are the Black Friday game on Amazon, the Saturday game against the Texans on December 21st, and the Christmas game on Netflix. Something else about this year's schedule is KC plays every single day of the week aside from Tuesday. So you got the typical Sunday games, a couple noon ones on Sunday, 3:25, Sunday Night Football, but then you've got Monday Night Football, Christmas is on a Wednesday, so you skip Tuesday, play on Wednesday, Thursday is the season opener. Friday is the Black Friday game on Netflix. Saturday is the Texans game to give them an extra day of rest before the Wednesday Christmas game. So yeah, 6 out of 7 days this year, the Chiefs are going to be playing some football. On top of that, with the Chiefs technically only having 5 primetime game slots, I believe that means they can still get flexed to 2 more primetime slots at some point in the season. NFL teams can have a max of 6 primetime slots like the Jets, 49ers, and Cowboys do this season, but the flex scheduling options helped by the league make a 7th game possible later on in the season at some point. And you can see details of how and when a game is able to be flexed here. Thanks to Matt McMullen, it really depends on when it is, but I'm pretty sure that means the Chiefs can again get around 2 more of their Sunday games flexed, or even that Week 18 game against the Broncos. If it was to come down to it, I hope the AFC West division doesn't come down to a Week 18 battle between the Chiefs and the Broncos. I would think the Chiefs have it wrapped up way before that, and this game, therefore, will not be in a primetime slot. But basically, the NFL knows the Chiefs make them money, right? So they are scheduling them as many times as humanly possible where you are just watching the Chiefs. So that's 8 slots this season, and then 5 primetime games could potentially get flexed into 7. Quite a bit, which would be what? A total of 10? That's a lot if true, and it makes sense. The NFL wants to capitalize on the fact that the Chiefs are, the most popular team in the NFL, at least from a viewership standpoint, whether people love them or are hate watching. They are also back-to-back Super Bowl champs in pursuit of a three-peat that also happens to have the best quarterback, best defensive tackle, best head coach, and best tight end in football, plus extra star power when you combine all that with who Travis Kelce is dating. Now, if you look at the strength of schedules for every team based on the Vegas forecasted win totals, the Chiefs have the 12th most difficult schedule. KC's current odds are 10.9 wins right now per Caesars Sportsbook and Casino, and honestly, I'm going to take the over of 11.5 no matter what here, because the Chiefs have won at least 12 games every single year of the Mahomes era, aside from last year where they won 11, but they were a receiver drop here or a receiver fumble or miscue there from winning closer to 14 games. Anyway, they have the 12th most difficult schedule based on the Vegas forecasted win totals, which is the better way to look at schedule difficulty in my opinion. But if you look at the Chiefs' strength of schedule compared to teams' records from last year, the Chiefs are right in the middle of the pack at 16th. And some of that is derived from the fact that the AFC West is lost, to say the least. They're in the midst of an identity crisis. All three teams, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, you got QB changes, coaching changes, ownership changes, and a plethora of other things that probably deserves its own video. But that doesn't mean the Chiefs have it easy. The Ravens, Bengals, 49ers, Bills, and Texans are all quite possibly coin flip games on who's going to win it, though I do think the Bills take a bit of a step back this year. Then there's games that the Chiefs should not lose, but quite possibly will, just a fluke game, a trap game, whatever. Like last year against the Raiders or the Broncos. I see the Panthers on the schedule this year, a team they have no business losing to, but you just never know. It honestly all depends on how consistent the Chiefs end up being on any given day. I mean, the term any given Sunday in the NFL is very real. Andy Reid from the podium almost every week says the parity has never been closer, or however the saying goes, and the Chiefs will need to be on their A game on every phase of the football, special teams, offense, and defense in order to walk away from a lot of these games with a W. Now, with all that being said, I still think the Chiefs win around 13 games this year, losing a couple of those to the 5 tough opponents I mentioned earlier, and then maybe losing a couple more to teams they have no business losing to, and until the Chiefs just flat out prove me wrong one year, a 12 or 13 win season is what I'm going to continue to predict/expect from them. I also know some people are going to want me to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the Chiefs playing 3 games in 10 days, which, yes, is absolutely insane. But upon a deeper look at this, it isn't as bad as things initially seemed. I'll get to that in a second, but let's look at the rest advantage overall. First off, the Chiefs have a positive 5-day rest advantage all year long, which is actually tied for 8th best in the NFL, a major uptick from last year when their rest advantage was negative 13, the 3rd worst in the NFL. So they went from the 3rd worst rest advantage in the NFL last year to the 8th best. That is much better. KC also does not have an international game. Last year they played in Germany. This year they are staying in the States. You don't have to deal with jet lag, all that stuff that associates itself with an international game. So that is another positive in my opinion. Anyway, let's look at those 3 games in 10 days. Yes, they are brutal. Don't get me wrong. But the Ravens, Steelers, and Texans all have to do this as well, mainly because they all play on Christmas. Because of that, the Chiefs play the Browns week 15 on December 15th, who are coming off 7 days in between games, just like KC. Then week 16 is the Saturday game against the Texans on December 21st, and the Texans will have 6 days in between games, just like the Chiefs. Then because the Steelers also play on Saturday, December 21st, both the Chiefs and Steelers are only going to have 4 days in between games for the Christmas matchup on Wednesday. So again, I'm not a fan by any means of the 3 games in 10 days thing, but it does help me a bit knowing all the Chiefs opponents will have no advantage, at least as far as extra rest goes. Now, I just hope everyone can stay healthy, which is the biggest key at the end of the day as well as the end of the season, something the Chiefs have overall been relatively blessed by, I guess you could say. They finished the season pretty healthy, and that obviously then helps you in the postseason. And with that, let me know your thoughts on the Chiefs schedule in the comments down below, or the schedule of any other team that really stands out to you. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What are some of your favorite matchups for the Chiefs this season, as well as their record prediction and why? Let me know all that in the comments down below. But before we get out of here, there's some more things to talk about regarding the Chiefs other than their schedule release. Yesterday, per the Transaction Wire, it was announced by Aaron Wilson, among others, that the Chiefs had 5 of their draft picks signed, with those being 4th-round picks, tight end Jared Wiley and safety Jaden Hicks, their 5th-round pick, offensive lineman Hunter Norzad, the 6th-rounder, cornerback Kamal Haddon, as well as the 7th-round pick out of Holy Cross, offensive lineman CJ Hansen. That leaves the only 2 draft picks that haven't yet officially signed on the dotted line to be 1st-rounder Xavier Worthy, wide receiver Xavier Worthy, and 2nd-rounder offensive tackle Kingsley Suamataia. Those are bigger contracts that involve more guarantees, and so they're going to typically take longer to work out than the others. So nothing to be alarmed about. They will all get done here very soon. something we should potentially be alarmed about is the fact that wide receiver Xavier Worthy has found himself in the news. It's actually nothing that he did directly, but his car was reportedly stolen. And no, I do not think it was just Rashee Rice taking his teammate's car out for a joyride. Per Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, it looks like a source from the Chiefs let him know that Xavier Worthy's car was stolen overnight from his apartment complex in the Kansas City area. I don't know where exactly that is, but it looks like his car was actually parked in a residential parking garage at his apartment complex, and one source put it to Florio like this. The car was stolen from a residential parking garage by a professional group of criminals who knew exactly what they were doing. Well, that's freaking crazy, not gonna lie. Thankfully, vehicles can be replaced and people's lives cannot. And this wasn't a carjacking or anything like that involved Worthy. He wasn't near his car when this happened, so nobody was injured. Then insurance is probably gonna take care of and hopefully replace Worthy's car. So that's not really the issue. Just at the end of the day, this is kind of an embarrassing look for the city that the Chiefs' first round pick moves to Kansas City for minicamp and OTAs, and within a couple of weeks of being here in the city, his car gets stolen by a group of what they are labeling as professional criminals. That's some real gone in 60 seconds type stuff, if you ask me. And while that's about all the details we currently have on the case, if I find out anything more, I will be sure to keep you guys updated and in the loop every step of the way. So until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?